All right, it is a good morning, and we are on in now. And I'll press start so I don't forget. All
Yeah,
right, there we go.
yeah, you did a good. I always listen to these to make sure I
Mhm.
don't say anything completely out of pocket that I have to apologize the next week for to 10 to 8 people who might be us. It's unclear.
Right.
Who are you? Who are you?
Yeah, we still haven't heard from anybody. Although, actually, and this morning I was mentioning the Twitter stuff to you. I got an email from Twitter this morning that said 35 people had seen my tweet. So, so, and the tweet was one of these shows. So who
Oh,
knows?
who knows? I don't know who. What do you? And like, it's an emotional thing that we are always that this piece that we're working on is always kind of about. It's about
Yeah.
who is watching and who does the watching, and it is about the difference of being looked at and being seen, and
Mhm.
that tension as an artist and as a human being, and the fact that we are always a little bit looking at each other and being looked at, and how insane it's all driving us. That being said,
Exactly.
last week we cut off real nice. We did a real good job listening to it because we were talking about like abstract ideas. But one of the big things that we wanted to talk about, which we sort of got there towards the end, which we're going to bring back up, is when to know you're done with a piece because
Mhm.
we're working towards the end of the creative part of Yonko 2. We have other projects in our own lives that we're working on. We have other Yonko pieces, other Yonko pieces. And Andrew, you just finished a piece. And how did you know you were done?
Well, well, so yeah, I it was on my mind a lot actually yesterday because um, with that one, so the piece that we're talking about is uh, it's part of another project that we actually haven't made public yet because we just haven't been able to, but we're very close to doing
Mhm.
that. And it's we don't have, I guess we don't have to talk about what it is right now, but just so people know what we're talking about, it's called 12 by 12. So whenever we talk about 12 by 12 in the future, that's what we're referring to. So
That's
um, yeah, so so I was working on that, and the thing about that one is that I had to. Uh, it's a much longer process, than just working on like a minute long
mhm.
piece for Zodiac, and so like basically the last couple weeks, whenever a student would cancel or I had a free time or during lunch or whatever, I was turning my focus to that. And eventually it kind of got to the point where, I had the framework of the piece and everything. Um, but but then it got to the point, where, I'm working on details and working how to map things out and how to put everything together and, you know, get all the transitions and everything like that. Um, and then it finally gets to the point, where just like adding details and that's the point that's hardest for me,
Mhm.
is like, okay, how many little nuances, how many little details do I put in?
Mhm.
And when is too much too much? And it's interesting because like with our projects, like there's sort of a finishing place, but there's multiple places. Like it's like I got to a point yesterday where I felt like it was good enough to send to you.
Mhm.
But even since last night, I've been listening to it and like hearing little things that I want to change. But and so before I send it to our mixing guy, Eric, then I'm probably going to make those changes. But then even when he sends it back to me, then I'm most likely going to make additional changes, after that. So, so I feel like it's just sort of a game of like, okay, how long can it be pushed,
Mhm.
until okay, finally it just has to be let go. So I don't know if like if you've had the same kind of experience or if that's similar to what you experience or I don't know if that's why you wanted to bring this up because you have a similar experience or if it's different.
Well, I have artificial and real limitations on this type of art that I make.
Mhm,
Um, my phone can only hold so much data,
mhm.
and I do all this stuff on my phone. So my phone will let me know when I am done because it will go, "Your data is full," and that is usually when I know I'm like, "Oh," and like a lot of times when I make things because I like to put a process in. It's not so much a The last thing that not always, but oftentimes the last thing that gets added is the word. Once the word gets put on there,
Mhm.
it's done. So I
Yeah.
know once I start looking for that word, this is the last step. So like having steps where I know I'm done is it it helps me personally, and just go. I don't know. It's a question a lot of people like, how do you know it's done? I'm like, well, when I look at it and it looks like a single thing.
Mhm.
But I've done stuff where I know, like, okay, so I want everything to look cohesive. I got this is gonna anger some people. I don't care if my work is good. I care if it's cohesive.
Mm,
Good is too abstract a concept for me. Good is
mm,
something I can't quite wrap. I can say if a technique is good if I'm working on like my drawing and my perspective, or anatomy. You can say
mm,
a technique is good, but to say a piece is good, I cannot comfortably say that, but I can say this has a cohesive feeling idea thing in my perspective.
mm.
So my goal is always towards cohesiveness, and it's funny because, and I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm going to tell you a secret. There are flaws in my images in Yonko too that for like a month I was like, I need to tell him that I need this back and I need to fix this.
Mhm.
And then I was like, well, no, it's like it got up to like the visual it is all put together part
Yeah.
where I went, oh no, I've made a terrible mistake. I need to fix
Yeah.
this. But it's done, and like by that point, all mistakes are intentional, and
Right.
like it's
Well,
you can go.
no, well, and honestly, like I'm kind of glad to hear you say that because with almost every piece that I send you, especially for Zodiac, I felt that same way. And
Mhm.
in fact, even one time with Zodiac One, I think I panicked and I emailed you. I was like, no, no, no. But then you responded and said, well, I really like it.
Yeah.
And then I know the underlying meaning behind I like it. So at that
What
point.
is the underlying meaning behind "I like it"?
Well, at that point, you were just like I think that had already worked on a new image,
Yeah,
and,
I've already put probably 2 hours into a new
yeah,
image, and you're like,
exactly, yeah.
"Well, what if this was different?" And I'm like, "No, actually, it's not."
Right, exactly, and so, like but that sorta grounded me a little bit because I was like, "Okay, well, I just have to put it out there, I've gotta be happy with it," and honestly, like, that's kind of an interesting comparison, and it's been a good kind of, um, psychological thing for me, I think, with the way that we're doing Zodiac because, like, I intentionally give myself like, maximum of like 2 or 3 hours, to work on one of those pieces because if I don't, then it's going to be, a week, 2 weeks or whatever, because I'll spend what I was talking about earlier. I'll just keep on detail, 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 and and I feel like that um, part of what Zodiac is just like the energy, the momentum of like
Mm.
getting out. And like and it's been and I think you mentioned this before actually maybe in one of our conversations uh that we never published or maybe one of the ones that was too long that nobody listened to. But I think you said this that it's it's just the idea of sort of like getting out there and actually I forgot what I was going to say. It'll come back to me in a second.
Yeah,
But
that's fine.
you take over.
It's good. That means we're right on the cusps of big ideas when you can't quite, you're no longer saying the ticker tape stuff.
Right.
But, it is it's also producer person I know was talking about how he was, like, working on this thing, and it was, like, change stuff, and you're changing stuff by inches by the end. You're like, "This is," and I do that. Any image I send out is there's stuff I've taken it from blue to light blue to dark blue to light blue to dark
Yeah.
blue to light blue to dark blue to light blue. That's the last step is always me going, perfect," and I don't know
Right.
if anyone knows, cares, notices that little end at the end, but it's just what I do, right? And I go, that is what I've always been looking for. And then sometimes I'll do that, and then I'll like back because digitally, what's nice is you can backtrack and see what you're looking at, right?
Mm.
And I'll backtrack and I'll look at how little it's actually changed, or
Right.
I'll backtrack and go, actually, I like that better, and then I'll do that game again in a
Mm.
different direction.
Yeah.
So but he was talking about how like he was like, dude, I work on this thing, and like I play it with just inches, and like someone's gonna listen to it over headphones once, and go, "Yeah, it's cool," and then move on with their lives. Like,
Right.
that's something I think about, like, with Yonko, because Yonko's now on, well, excuse me, Zodiac's now on Spotify,
Mm,
and so it's finally not it's you can listen to it through headphones, which
mm,
is it's a much more intimate experience than the way it's you can listen to it on headphones on YouTube too, but, like, if you're to, be exposed to Yonko, how most people are exposed to Yonko, which I assume is scanning a QR code, then a thing suddenly appears on your phone.
yeah.
They have sort of this ambient noise coming at them from their phone, and that is how hundreds of people have experienced Yonko,
Right.
even though your our version of it is going,
Right, exactly.
and then they go, and I assume what they do because it's 30 minutes long is they go, "Oh, what's this? Okay," and then they move to the like 15-minute mark and go, "Oh, that's probably pretty cool. I should check that out sometime," and then they move on with their lives, you know. And
Yeah.
honestly, I'm not even mad about that. That's a
Mm,
nice experience that they might have had. You
yeah,
know, they might have went, "Oh, look, they found a weird thing. Oh, that's cool." Anyway,
yeah.
but that's
Well,
all. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and I also kind of hope that with short pieces like that, that if they don't like it, that maybe they can listen for a minute, and
Mhm,
then it's going to be something totally different, or
mhm,
look at something for a minute, and it's going to be something totally different. And so hopefully it's not like too overwhelming. Although I've often thought, because I remember back when I was in college, I remember actually a professor telling me that there had been a study at that time that when people go to an art museum, they only look at a piece of art for 7 seconds, an average of 7 seconds, and that was way before Instagram, you
mhm.
know. And now, I mean, I'm very curious, like what a study would look like now, because I mean, obviously, like we're all flipping through our phones, and like I think it's going to be more like 1.5 seconds at most, as we're looking for it. And I'm sure we can thank TikTok for that or whatever, but
TikTok and YouTube and the things we're gonna be posting on, yeah. Well,
yeah.
but that's a when making art for visual art, that's a thing that you just fight against. I watch people. I have a gallery up. It's up for a few more weeks. It's very
Mm,
nice. But I watch people go in and they stand and if you look at the gallery, if you really look at it, and you take 10 minutes and you realize that images repeat themselves and that there is, if not a narrative, there's an emotional arc that is
mm,
happening around you. There's spacing with it in the pieces individually, and then if you were to take a step back and look at it, there's something that's happening that is a groove, basically, right? And I watch people walk in, and they look at one image, and they go, took it in, look at the next image, took it in, and like you will do anything just to slow them down for like if you and it's hard. I'm not even mad at them. I do the same thing, but you just
yeah,
want to be like just look for like a couple more seconds, like a couple
right,
more, and like that's one of the cheats I did. One of my cheat codes is I got a dude who made music, and I was like, well, if you want to listen to this music, you have to look at this piece of art
right.
for a minute. So I got him for a minute. So like I mean that is one of the things that Yonko, and we talked about this in a much longer version, is one of the things that Yonko is based on is trying to get people to stop and exist in a space for more than a second.
Yeah.
And it's funny because from my point of view, a lot of people come and they go, "Oh yeah, I put it on," and I'm not insulted by this. I put it on, and I did some housework to it, and yeah, it was great. I loved it. It was really cool. And I was like, "Oh, cool. That the part I contributed, you have no idea is there. No idea it's there. The part I contributed." Um, Which I doesn't that actually doesn't bother me because like in some ways I'm like, yeah, I help with that music in an indirect way. That music is a direct response to my work.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I would say not indirectly at all. I mean, it's very direct, I would
yeah.
say. And honestly, that's I think one of the reasons I'm so excited about the performance that's coming up is just I mean, assuming that a few people actually come, then not only, they're not now they're not only forced to look for a minute, but they're forced to be there for 30 minutes if they're not going to be rude,
Yeah.
and get up. And so I'm kind of curious about what kind of experience it's going to be just in a live setting like that.
The other thing I think is interesting with Yonko is for us, especially excuse me, with Zodiac, especially Zodiac One,
Mm.
is there's a really clear arc to Zodiac
Yeah.
One. And
Hmm.
no one talks to me about the arc. No one goes like, "That's a story," and you know
Hmm.
what I mean. Like, it's one of those like we're not hiding it. We're kind of always being like, "Yeah, there's a pretty cool arc," and they're like, "Yeah, I like the part where it goes whoa, bump, bump, bump," and you're like, "Okay, well." You know, the arc, the story of the thing happening
Mhm,
and how it's all taking over and how it's about sort of the internet and what it's doing to our souls. And they're like, well, I like that it sounds spacey, and you're like, that's good too, I guess.
mhm. Yeah, well, it's like, I think oh, shoot.
Yeah, and
Oh.
we're out.
Oh my god, alright. Oh, no!
I love
This is
that.
the worst one.
Huh?
This was the worst because 'cause we've been ending actually on pretty concise notes, but now this is just in the right in the middle of a conversation. It's not fair.